Okay, guys, this report just in from the Daily Express. I want to read it for you. It's Russia and China. They could use World War III chaos to attack US by pretending to be North Korea. North Korea could be used as a decoy for enemies plotting an attack on the US, which could spark World War III, a cybersecurity expert has claimed. Russia and China could cloak themselves with traces of North Korean technology and digital clues to throw the US investigators off the scent, according to Matt Morris. The vice president of Next Defense told Express.co.uk intelligent hackers knew the calling cards and digital footprints of other states and were mimicking them in order to avoid detection. He said the GPS systems of US Navy ships in East Asia have been hacked several times this year, sending ships careering off track, resulting in deadly collisions. And sophisticated agents from China and Russia knew the calling cards and digital footprints of North Korea and were mimicking them in order to avoid detection. He said the interesting thing about both of them is hackers are really smart. They know what the signatures are of other countries. If I'm China, I'm going to attack somebody like Russia or like North Korea. They'll leave behind traces of other countries that make it look like someone else. They are very, very good at what they do. Due to North Korea's limited connectivity and skills, Pyongyang is forced to go through Russian and Chinese neighbors' systems in order to carry out its own cyber attacks. This makes it incredibly difficult to determine who exactly was responsible for hacking attacks, because all three states could pose as the other. North Korea's hackers were only a limited threat to international cybersecurity. The real danger, he said, was America's rivals in Beijing and Moscow. He said, to some extent, that is a bigger concern, more so than North Korea. North Korea only have so many connections out of the country. We have proven here we can take out or seriously degrade some of their connectivity. He said he believed it was Chinese hackers, not North Korea, who were responsible for a series of hacks of US ships in Asia in recent months. He said, I suspect it is more of a China thing. China is one of the few out there that can hack where it is nearly impossible to know. Hackers are a threat to government bodies, big businesses, members of the public, and even defense. 3 US warships have been involved in unusual collisions this year, and we heard about that on the news, and it was very strange when it was going on to think that these ships were crashing into each other on, so, as Donald Trump would put it, big water, big ocean. It was pretty hard to believe. I remember thinking, what's going on there? And now we have some sort of insight into it. So I'll continue, including one between the USS John McCain and a Libyan oil tanker in August, which left 10 sailors dead. Earlier this year, the USS Fitzgerald was also in collision with a Philippines container ship, leading to 7 deaths. North Korean hackers forced the shutdown of a Channel 4 sitcom poking fun at the Hermit State. The show followed a British nuclear scientist taken prisoner by the tyrannical regime headed by despot Kim Jong-un. It is believed hackers infiltrated the channel's security system, causing chaos, albeit not gaining access to any valuable information. Channel 4 eventually abandoned the project, citing funding issues. And in 2014, Sony Pictures was hacked by a group demanding the interview. A satirical film attacking North Korea should be pulled. North Korea officially denied the attack but condemned the film, which had its release delayed. So there we have the insight into kind of like what's going on in the hacking. And according to this report published in the Daily Express, they believe it's China. And as I said, we remember hearing about the warships crashing into other ships, and it was just unusual. That's never happened as far as I know, and not so strangely where you've got so much ocean to maneuver around in, but you're crashing into each other. It's not as if these things are moving at hundreds of miles per hour, where they can't avoid crashing into each other. Obviously, something did go wrong with their GPS systems. So I wanted to kind of point out the fact that from a while ago, I made a video a while ago saying that in the iPad Goat video, right at the beginning on the chalkboard, I could make out the image, if I can get it. Yeah, I could make out the image of Vladimir Putin on the chalkboard. I don't know if anyone else can see it because not many people did say they could, although some people did say they could. But basically, I just want to kind of point it out again because I'm 100% sure that this is a ghostly image of Putin on the chalkboard, and that's the way Bush is facing at the moment. So I'm just going to try and highlight it for you, not highlight it, but outline it if I can. So there's Putin's head. It goes round like that. So you see how here we've got the darker parts of the chalkboard and we've got the whiteness on the chalkboard as if something was there but it's been erased. So I can see his head here. I can even go so far as to define his eye and the bridge of his nose, as well as the collar of his shirt, even down to a tie and a suit being worn here. Now, I don't know if anyone else can see it, but I can also see a hand. His hand is pointing, and it's pointing towards either towards the map, which is on the east coast of the United States, or he's pointing towards the house that's on fire. And there's his what's that, index finger, the pointing finger. That's the pointing finger there, and you can see the rest of the hand, and that trails down. It stops here where you can see the white part cut off, and it starts to go black here. That's the sleeve of his suit, and here where you've got the white, that's his collar there. You can see the white there, and the white part of his shirt, and this part that's darker is his tie coming down. So whether you can see it or not, I see it, and it's Putin. It's the classic way that Putin dresses, with the suit, the tie. I can see it clearly. In this video, they've made a bit of a mockery by drawing the missile as a penis with testicles. And if you can see the image of Putin behind, you'll see that the missile, or the the mockery of the missile or the penis, is on his head. So if I can use a bit of bad language for a second, it's a dickhead. And that's basically what they're portraying him as. And they have it in the shape of a missile also, which is coming down onto this burning house, which could represent California. As I mentioned before, I believe California is part of this video, although it hasn't been as clear. But, you know, considering we had the wildfires going on in California as well, and then this house is burning, and we did see some burning. I believe that may be saying that the missiles will be, or a missile will be coming down more on the west coast of the United States. But again, that's just interpretations. I don't really know the facts of that case. But I wanted to point out the fact why I believe that Russia would probably be the ones to do what this report is saying, and pretend to be North Korea to attack the United States. But behind it all is the Chinese. Now, this is an Illuminati card. It's the bank merger Illuminati card, and it basically shows what money is going to be predominant, basically, at certain times, and it's all taken over in the end by the New World Order system, which is Bitcoin. Which Bitcoin is not the New World Order system, but it's the money that they'll be using in this New World Order system. There'll be no cash. There'll be no cards. More than likely, as we probably all know already, it will go into a chipping system, which will be implanted in the hand, probably at first, and then they'll probably move on to ones that can be inserted in the head when it probably comes to their realization. But they probably know already, it's already planned. But when it comes to realization, that people probably will remove the chip from their hand. Even if you remove it, it'll be too late in God's eyes. You've already taken the chip, so you'll be condemned to hell. But people will be removing the chips from their hands. So in that sense, I believe it will then move on to the forehead, where people won't be able to remove it so easily, you know, connected to brain tissue and all that kind of stuff. But another thing I wanted to point out, just in case people are skeptical about the Illuminati card game and whether it's, you know, all coincidence or not, I don't believe it's coincidence. I believe it's completely real. And when I look at things like the 9/11 card, which is, you know, you can say what you want, but that's the Twin Towers, and that's the explosion from what they so-called planes crashing into them. But really, I believe it was low-yield nuclear devices placed strategically throughout the building, particularly in the basement, where this all happened. And brought up another webpage here, but it's gone a bit funny. But I basically wanted to show you that for anyone who's skeptical about the 9/11 being a homegrown, low-yield nuclear attack, I just wanted to show you something very quickly. 1 second. So there's reports out there, although you won't hear it in the mainstream news. You can find it in newspapers, but you know, these are the emergency workers, firefighters, ambulance people, sanitation workers. They all have cancer, or they're all getting cancer. There's more than, as you can see there, more than 2,500 of them. That's not a coincidence. Now, if it was a plane going into the towers, as they claim, why the radiation? Where's the radiation coming from? This is, and I've watched a video on YouTube as well where, there's video footage from different people. Obviously, you didn't see that in the mainstream news either, but they're talking about hearing explosions. And in one particular video, there's an explosion that sounds quite loud, and it comes from the basement or the lower area of the Twin Towers. So I believe, and the way that the Twin Towers fell down as well, straight down, you know, the planes crashed near the top of the building. I don't understand how steel structure and concrete can just collapse near the lower half of the building unless something affected its integrity, such as a low-yield nuclear device, which has also caused all these emergency workers to contract cancer and sicken and die, more than 2,500 of them. This whole plan that they've got has been going on for so long, and we're playing catch-up, and we're so many steps behind. It's unbelievable. It's overwhelming actually to think how far behind we are. Their plans are years and years in the making, and we're just catching on to the little threads that are being dropped down here and there. But moving on, before I get too much into that, just to confirm some more, the BP oil spill. We have the image of the bird covered in oil, and the actual card is oil spill, and then you've got the image of the actual, the goals that were covered in oil, and we all saw that on the news as well. So just for the people who don't believe the Illuminati card game is, I don't believe every single card is something, but I do believe that they have shown a lot, even a nuclear accident. I don't know if that's to come or if that's referring to what happened in Japan with the tsunami and the earthquake. But it's all there. It's all there for you to see. And they're playing games with our lives, and we need to do something about it. We need to get moving and get activated. Our eyes need to be opened, our ears need to be open, and we need to speak. We need to speak out, not just about these things, but we need to spread the word of God. To be honest, focus. Right. So I wanted to quickly get into a bit more on the iPet Goat video as well, just to point out some things that I've not really picked up, but things that I really wanted to kind of point out as well when it comes to which countries are involved in this whole thing. But before I go on to the countries that are involved, it's part of it anyway. I believe that Rome is a part of this video, and that in some way Rome or Italy will be involved. Rome in particular. I have pointed out before, and I'll point it out again, that I believe this image here is the same image that is depicted in the creation of Adam, which is in the Sistine Chapel, and it's got the hand of God as they portray him reaching out to man, and man kind of lazily reaching out to God, which kind of does interpret the way humanity as a whole has treated our Creator. And when you look here, you can see, if you just stick out your hand and point, fold all your other fingers and point, you'll see that your hand is making the exact same shape as this hand here. And then you've got the little finger coming off here, the tiny gap between them, as in the fingers or the hand of man reaching, or do it the other way around, the hand of God reaching towards the hand of man. And we see that again in the image with the old lady and the tower, where God's reaching down. But in particular, this part here does remind me quite strongly of this part here. And then to continue, what other countries I believe are involved? Obviously, we've got Iran, that's depicted through Bin Laden there, and then we've obviously got later on in the video, we have the actual image of the Muslim lady with the dead child and the nuclear explosion in the background, and I believe this woman represents Iran. And we have Africa, or some part of Africa represented in the video as well. And obviously we've heard about everything that's happened in Nigeria as well, and how there's 1,000 troops over there that most of Congress didn't even know about. So you know, they're there as well. And then we believe that the hammer and the scythe is, depicting Russia's involvement. Then we move some more into the video, and we get onto. I just want to bring onto this part actually. So if you notice, North Korea doesn't actually um, isn't well known or isn't known for yin and yang. That's China. That's known for yin and yang. Not only that, but the whole tank scene is reminiscent of the I don't know what it was called, so please forgive me if you do know. But basically, it's when the Chinese student stood in front of the tanks and he refused to move, and that was seen as like this whole big peace thing. But then you've got China has always been kind of represented on the stages, on the world stage, as like kind of like middle ground. They're always trying to gain their own steps, but they're seen as a middle ground. But here you can see that there is no yin and yang, basically, because the yin there's always a little bit of yin in the yang and a little bit of yang in the yin. But basically, I believe it's the yin that they're representing here, which is the good part, is not part of the circle. We'll be playing. It's pushed out, so it's basically showing China with no more yin and yang, no more good and evil, basically just evil. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that China really are the ones to worry about. They're the ones with the billion-man army. They're the ones who are pushing heavily in technology and economy, environmentally. They're the ones who are, really controlling North Korea alongside Russia, but Russia doesn't have as much influence there as China does. And the world, as you see it, more hates Russia than they do China. But China's really the ones to worry about, to be honest with you. Who else is in this video? Obviously, the USA is in this video. We got the UK in the video, being depicted with the pound coin at Obama's foot. Just down here, you may not be able to see it because of the bar, but there's the pound coin, and that shows you that the UK is involved. So you got UK, USA, China, Russia. What I don't believe they depicted here is North Korea, but they have depicted Iran, they have depicted Africa in there as well. And also, when we obviously come down more into the video down here, we've got India represented. Yeah, so we've got India represented as well here. And obviously, I did point out the other day in the military drill video that I did that Russia and India recently did their first ever military drill exercise involving airship and land, and that I believe it's completed a couple of days ago, or maybe due to be completed. I can't remember right now. It's in the other video, but basically the drill was called Indra 2017, and that's Russia and India joining together. So I just wanted to point out that though all the focus is on excuse me, all the focus is on North Korea at the moment, and everyone's kind of like putting the pressure on North Korea. You've got the two big actors in the background, particularly China, that is pulling the puppet strings on the world stage, but definitely pulling the puppet strings of Kim Jong-un. So if they did decide, or at least if Russia did decide, according to the IPEC Goat video, it's Russia that attacks the US with a missile. If Russia decides to attack the US with a missile that pretends to be from North Korea, then there's your beginning. So, oh my God, that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. This report, the fact that I believe that China, before being taken over by the New World Order in total with Bitcoin, I believe that China will, take over the dollar, the pound, and it will be the predominant currency that people use. And then comes the New World Order. So, and I just pointed out that obviously if you think that's suspect, then just look at the 9/11 card. Look at the 9/11 with the Twin Towers, 9/11 with the Pentagon, the Illuminati oil spill in the Gulf Coast, in the Gulf of Mexico, sorry. And then you just look at how many emergency workers have contracted cancer from working at the 9/11 site or working at the site of the Twin Towers, where they claim it was a plane that flew into the buildings, but planes don't give you cancer. Or if they did, they wouldn't give 2,500 of you cancer. That is radiation. And then just pointing out the fact that you've got the UK, USA, Iran, China, Russia, India, all depicted in the iPad Goat video in some way or the other. And the image of the creation of man, which I believe also includes Rome in some way. So that's my analysis for today. And